Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
When it's time to build a home, remodel, or add on, Hamby Builders is this area's experienced construction company. From site selections to floors, doors, windows, trim, tile, bathrooms, and kitchen, the Hamby Builders team can make your home the home of your dreams. Hamby Builders is licensed and insured with over 20 years of experience in homes in Giles, Lawrence, Wayne, and Murray counties. Trust your home construction or light commercial project to the team with experience and integrity. Hamby Builders. Call 931-629-5264 or 931-629-9472 today.
Bring your outdoor dreams to life at Loretto Nursery and Landscaping. This one-stop shop can help you get your project done from start to finish. Go see for yourself. They have a wide variety of plants, from tropicals to ferns and trees, plus hanging baskets. What they have to offer goes beyond what looks good. They also supply concrete, mulch, compost, and drainage culverts. Don't forget about their on-lot buildings and chicken coops. You think that's all? You can also stop by to fill up your propane tank. Loretto Nursery and Landscaping has you covered. Stop by 409 South Military Street.
Welcome to Mid-South Barn Dominiums. We realize there's a lot of options when it comes to finding a builder for your next home. Here at Mid-South, we understand that customer service, quality, and selections are very important. It's a very large time, money, and an emotional investment, and we're here to listen and care. We realize the kitchen's the most used and abused room in the house. Our cabinets are locally custom made from Sanderson Cabinets out of Lawrenceburg. They're real wood, poplar or maple, whether you paint or stain. All comes with slow close hardware and many pull-out different style options to choose from.
Gifts and goodies galore await you at Miss Millie's in downtown Lawrenceburg. From brands you know and love, like E. Newton Jewelry and Tyler Diva Wash, to unique specialty gifts, you will find it all here. Whether you're looking for the perfect gift for someone you love or shopping for yourself, shopping local is the way to go. We have home goods, women's fashion and accessories, baby items, and lots of seasonal decorations. Our friendly staff will welcome you in, help you find what you need, and even package your gifts for you. Also, we can't forget to tell you about our popular bridal registry. Future brides can come and create their perfect registry with us. So stop by Miss Millie's today. We're located in the northeast corner of the square in downtown Lawrenceburg.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome everybody in here to the X Sports Network, here from the Monday edition of the Mark My Words College Sports Show here on the X Sports Network. It is cold outside, but it is nice and warm in here, and we've got a lot to break down today. We had college football awards last weekend. We have more coaching movement. We've got a bowl game to break down. We've got some college basketball to break down. So a ton of fun, so we will jump right into it. Friday afternoon, Utah announced that their head coach Kyle Whittingham will retire following the Las Vegas Bowl on New Year's Eve. We'll talk about that one in a couple of weeks when that one's coming up. Whittingham is the winningest coach in Utah school history with a career record of 177 wins to 88 losses over his 21 seasons coaching, an average of about 8-4. Most coaches would take a record like that. Whittingham actually played for and graduated for Utah's biggest rival, BYU, back in the 80s. He started coaching at some little spots, but he's got his start at Utah in 1994 as the defensive line coach for then head coach Ron McBride. In 1995, he was promoted to the defensive coordinator and remained in that position until the conclusion of the 2004 season, where then head coach Urban Meyer left Utah and took the Florida job. Whittingham was then promoted to the head coach at Utah. And listen, he's been with Utah through everything. He watched them make their jump from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 in 2011, and then also saw them into their first couple of years in the Big 12, starting last year. Last season wasn't great. This year, much better. And listen, Kyle Whittingham is one of the old style kind of coaches. Defense first, not a whole lot of flashy. Did for a couple years when Andy Ludwig was his offensive coordinator, but we're starting to see kind of a new era in college football. We're seeing, no more Nick Saban, no more Kyle Whittingham. There's probably a couple other guys. Urban Meyer, another guy that won some national championships. We're getting closer to the... Actually, I'm not sure if we're getting close to the end of a Dabo Sweeney. He's only 56 years old, so probably not with him. But we're seeing this last generation that dominated college football for the last 25 years kind of move on. Obviously, they're getting up there in age, but there's been a good bit of coaches we've seen that just didn't really like the transfer portal, NIL. I'm not sure if they didn't necessarily like NIL, but didn't like the whole transfer portal and buying teams aspect. Whittingham was probably one of those people. So I could say that we sort of saw this coming, at least pretty soon. Whittingham has only been the head coach at Utah, and over the last 20 years, I mean, literally Utah's last head coach before Kyle Whittingham was Urban Meyer. Whittingham, 66 years old, so I would anticipate that he's probably just going to retire, go home, hang out, with his family. I know he's, a motorcycle guy, so, probably have that to take up some time. And then Utah, right on the ball. Saturday they announced that defensive coordinator Morgan Scaley will be taking over at head coach immediately following the bowl game. Scaley has played or coached at Utah ever since 2001, so another guy that's been in the program for a long time. And hey, listen, the last time they promoted a longtime defensive coordinator to head coach, it went pretty well. So trying to replicate that with Morgan Scaley. Washington State head coach Jimmy Rogers has taken the head coaching job to Iowa State following the departure of Matt Campbell to Penn State. Rogers spent the last season with the Cougars, and prior to that was a member of the South Dakota State coaching staff from 2010 to 2024. Rogers also played for the Jackrabbits. I think it's a good pickup for Iowa State. They were always kind of... They're not a great program before Matt Campbell. Weren't a great program. Maybe had a couple of good years here or there, but they were always that team that would get a random Saturday night upset. I remember the 2011, I believe it was, they upset Oklahoma State and kept them from playing in a national championship that year. So, good to see them getting I think a pretty high-level head coach with Rogers. Keep them at a somewhat steady pace. It's crazy that we talked about Iowa State this year going 8-4, and that was a down year for them. So hopefully Rogers can keep the Cyclones at the level they're at, because I think college football is fun when both Iowa and Iowa State are good, because then you start realizing the importance of that Cy-Hawk game every year, because I think it's one of the most underrated rivalries in the country. And the reason, because of that, it happens week 2, week 3 every year. So, the fact they're in the same conference means that, it's an early season rivalry. Washington State, on the other hand, has decided to make a hire. Kirby Moore, the offensive coordinator from Missouri, was announced to be the head coach at Washington State on Friday. Moore, the younger brother of now Saints head coach Kellen Moore, has spent the last 3 seasons with Missouri and has been a hot name to get a head coaching job pretty soon. I mean, Missouri's offense took a bit of a step back this year, obviously when Bo Prabula got injured, but up to that point was pretty good. They were running up and down the field. Ahmad Hardy had an outstanding year, and then you go years before that. It started really with his first year was when they had Cody Schrader and Brady Cook, Luther Burden, and then last year with Cook and Burden, I believe they won 9 or 10 games, and went 8-4 this year with an All-American level running back. So, both of Missouri's coordinators were favored to take bigger jobs in the offseason. So now with Moore, kind of leading the way. We'll see if their defensive coordinator might be on the move, maybe the head coach on the move. I know he took signed the contract extension, but with how many jobs are open, I don't know if you can necessarily sit on that. And speaking of money, UCF head coach Scott Frost is suing his previous employer in Nebraska over tax liability tied to money Frost claims he never received. That's a pretty bad look from Nebraska. Obviously, the Scott Frost era did not go well at Nebraska. I mean, it was, he had resurrected the UCF program. They had an undefeated season, were the American Conference champions, self-crowned national champions in 2017. And then Scott Frost went to Nebraska, and it didn't go good. So it says that the ex-Huskers coach files lawsuit against university, seeks $5 million in damages, alleging the university breached his contract and improperly handled buyout payments in a dispute that centers on millions of dollars in compensation and tax liability. Frost's total buyout for Nebraska was roughly $15 million, covering the remainder of his contract through 2026. The complaint filed in Lancaster County, Nebraska District Court accuses the university and its Board of Regents of withholding payments Frost says he was owed from 2025 and 2026 under his employment agreement. Frost is seeking a declaratory judgment clarifying the contract terms and at least $5 million in damages. Listen, with how bad that era was at Nebraska, give them the money and just forget about it. Obviously, I think things are going much better with Matt Rule. Maybe a little shake-up in the QB room this offseason. But for the most part, this year was a great year for Nebraska. Last year was a better year for Nebraska, and maybe it continues to get better each and every year under Matt Rule. He was one of the people favored to leave for Penn State. So the fact that they kept him shows that he's worth a lot to them. So I think you just give the money to Scott Frost, maybe do an investigation, see actually what happened here, obviously, but pay him, move on. It's college football now. $5 million is nothing, pretty much, to most of these universities. Lenore Sellers is working on a deal to return to South Carolina in 2026. 2 years ago was a breakout year for Sellers and the Gamecocks, but couldn't roll that momentum into 2025. As a result, both South Carolina and Sellers took a huge step back. I mean, they went from 9-3 and were the first team out of the playoffs, or the first or second team out of the playoffs, to what did they go, 3-9 this year, 4-8? I mean, it was not a good year for South Carolina whatsoever. I mean, they got a nice conference win over Kentucky, but what other than that? I mean, you beat Virginia Tech, you beat South Carolina State, you get smoked by Vandy, you lose to Missouri, you beat Kentucky, you lose to LSU, you lose to Oklahoma, you play Alabama pretty good, you lose to Ole Miss, you blow a 27-point lead against Texas A&M, you handle Coastal Carolina, and you lose to Clemson. So not a great year. 4-8 for South Carolina. One conference win, that being Kentucky, before Kentucky figured out kind of what they were doing wrong. So, yeah, and I think the entire country knew that South Carolina was going to take a step back. What were they, preseason number 11? Yeah, I mean, that's just 13. Where it got as high as 10, but then started dropping following that loss to Vanderbilt. I don't know exactly what I projected the record for South Carolina to be this year, but I know it wasn't great. I probably had them at 5-7. Let me see if I can find this. It's going to be a long time ago. If I can pull this up, see if I can find it. I know we let it right up into the season. I'll see if I can. Yeah, honestly, it may have been a longer time ago that we did those schedules, but nonetheless, I don't think anybody predicted South Carolina to be that high. I don't know why the media thought that maybe just having Lenore Sellers is one of the better offensive players in the country, and Edwards is one of your best, or Stewart is one of your best defensive players in the country. Could have led to some good things, but it's not a good year for South Carolina. I mean, Stewart only finished with 4.5 sacks. I mean, he was second on the team in sacks in that matter. So, hopefully South Carolina can turn things around. A 9-game SEC schedule definitely isn't the way to do that. But they've definitely made an effort to try to revamp the offense. I mean, they brought in recently they brought in former TCU offensive coordinator Kendall Briles after they fired Mike Shula. So Sellers is going to try to run it back in 2026. I didn't think that if he was going to be playing college football in 2026 that it would be for South Carolina, but it seems that they've invested enough money into this guy that they're going to go get him an offensive coordinator, go get him, probably a running back would be nice, maybe another receiver if Nick Harbor decides to stay, 2 if he doesn't. But the real problem for South Carolina this year wasn't necessarily the offense. It wasn't good. It got a little better after they fired Shula, because that was following the Oklahoma game. If not, it was the LSU game. But it was sometime in October. You played Alabama close. You looked a little better against Ole Miss. You almost beat Texas A&M. You scored 51 against Coastal, and you looked a little slow against Clemson to end the season. But the offense started looking a little better. It was the defense that had some problems. If they can get it set, get that figured out, the defense, maybe we're looking at South Carolina as another breakout team for this year. We'll see what that 2026 schedule is looking like for the Gamecocks. Carolina football schedule that was released last week. So they will start the season at Kent State, or home against Kent State, home against Towson, and then home against Mississippi State for their first conference game. It's going to be another rough season. They have Alabama at Alabama, at Florida, home versus Tennessee, at Oklahoma, home against A&M, and then home against Georgia and at Clemson. So if they manage to have a good record with that, that's one of those where if those teams play like they should, and they go 9-3 with that record, you put them in the playoff. I just think that's with that level of a schedule, you got to do that. Some news from last night is Kalen DeBoer released a statement Sunday night reaffirming his commitment to Alabama. Quote, "I have not spoken and have no interest in speaking with anyone else about any other job. I am fully committed to this program," end quote. Shortly after, on threes, Chris Lowe reported that DeBoer and the university are working on an extension, but nothing is final as of now. I think that's a big sigh of relief for Alabama fans, because obviously, there were some rumblings that, maybe the outcome of the Iron Bowl was going to have an impact on maybe who the Penn State coach was going to be. And then as soon as this Michigan job opened up, not 5 minutes had gone by before everybody was saying Kalen DeBoer is the guy. So, I don't think none of these reports are coming out of Alabama. Most of these reports are coming from other people that probably don't like Alabama. So I never thought it was realistic for him to go to Michigan. I thought it may, could have had some funny repercussions, because, then the best job in the country is open and there's no coaches left. Some breaking news earlier this morning, as Florida quarterback DJ Lagway has announced that he will enter the transfer portal when it opens on January 2nd. Lagway, a 9-9 record as the starting quarterback at Florida since taking over for Graham Mertz last season. Baylor, Miami, and LSU are currently the schools to keep an eye on for the young, talented quarterback. You could kind of tell. It was similar with Sellers, that his stats this year were probably going to lead to him leaving. Now, there are some reports that hint that Lagway was planning on staying, that his first meeting with the new coaching staff just didn't go well, and he decided to look elsewhere. Lagway had a rough year this year, had a couple of games where he didn't even get to 100 passing yards, had a 5-interception game against LSU, had a 3-interception game against Kentucky, and a 31-point loss. Florida lost at home to Tennessee in the Swamp for the first time since 2003. It's a year Florida would like to forget. They fired their head coach. They fired most of their staff, it seems like. Lagway didn't throw for 300 yards once this year. He got to 298 against Texas, and by far his best game of the year. But only finished the year with about 2,400 yards and 17 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. He's going to be looking elsewhere, the sophomore out of Texas. Baylor is a name up there. I don't know why he would go to Baylor. They were not good. Their quarterback put up cool numbers, but is anybody talking about Sawyer Robertson right now? No, because Baylor went, 5-7, 6-6. Not a very good year for the Bears. Miami is probably where a lot of people would assume. It's in-state, so he wouldn't have to move very far. And look at what Miami's done with their last 2 transfer quarterbacks. obviously Cam Ward was the number 1 pick in the NFL draft last year and has the Titans looking somewhat competent. I mean, looked better yesterday than they had most of the season, but he's going to need some more help than that. Just that. But, had the number 1 pick last year. Beck won't be the number 1 pick this year. Probably won't be one of the first 4 or 5 quarterbacks taken, but he's had a pretty good year, minus a couple of games. Take another former SEC quarterback and turn him around. LSU is another name being thrown around. Obviously, no Nussmeier anymore. Michael Van Buren, is he going to be the guy full-time? I know that, in theory, DJ Lagway and Lane Kiffin is a match made in heaven. But DJ Lagway has a turnover problem. Austin Simmons was a turnover problem for Ole Miss to begin the year, and after he got hurt and Chambliss took over, who wasn't turning the ball over, Simmons really never made it back on the field. So I think right now Miami's probably the favorite if we're thinking, him take a step up. If he wanted to take a step back and maybe look elsewhere, I think Baylor could be an interesting spot for him. But yeah, some big news on a Monday morning. We'll see if we have any other news breaking in the early hours. Yeah, it looks like that is it in terms of breaking news. But we had college football awards over the weekend. We had some on Friday. We had some on Saturday. We'll get to the big one last. We'll start with the 2 that haven't been named yet, the Ted Hendricks Award and the Frank Broyles Award. The Hendricks Award is the best defensive end in college football. It hasn't been named yet. I would anticipate it's probably going to be Reuben Bain Jr. from Miami. If not, maybe Cassius Howell at Texas A&M is another name you could throw in there. And then the Broyles Award, obviously best assistant coach in college football. Out of the names up there, I think it has to be Matt Patricia. I mean, just look at what Ohio State has done this year. They lost almost everybody from last year. Really, their biggest guy they retained on defense was Caleb Downs. They lost most of their defensive line. They lost most of their linebacking core. They lost a decent bit of their secondary. They bring Matt Patricia in, and their defense is even better this year. So I think it's probably a shoe-in for Patricia. The Buddy Tevens Award is the Innovation to Grow College Football. That went to Kalani Sataki for BYU. The Burlsworth Award goes to the top walk-on in college football. That was Dream Estemaker at North Texas, a walk-on freshman who led the country in passing yards. That's just incredible. The Eddie Robinson Award goes to the FCS Coach of the Year this year. We went to Kevin Cahill, the head coach at Lehigh. Lehigh had one of their better years in school history. I don't believe they're still in the FCS playoffs. I don't believe they are. I can check, but they are not. We actually have they were actually victim to a big upset in their first round to a team that's actually in the semifinals right now. So the Danny Werfel Award goes to the top community servant. That went to Michael Taff of Texas. The Disney Spirit Award goes to the most inspirational player or team this year. Went to Jeremiah Love of Notre Dame. The Paul Hornung Award goes to the most versatile player in college football. That one was Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. Not much anger in this one. I think that so far they've gotten the most of these right. It's the first one I have a little bit of a problem with. The Lott Award goes to an outstanding defensive player. Went to Caleb Downs of Ohio State. I kind of looked at it when we were talking about the Heisman finalists, the 5 through 10 or whatever it was last week, and Downs was on there as the 8th or 9th guy. His stats weren't great. I mean, he's on here for a couple of awards, but I feel like that may have been more or less a popularity contest. The Campbell Trophy goes to the best scholar athlete. That goes to Vanderbilt's Eli Stowers, the tight end. Had a great year for the Doors, and he'll be on here another time. Ray Geig Award goes to the best punter in college football. That one was Georgia's Brett Thorson. And the Lou Groza Award goes to the best kicker in college football. A guy I've talked about several times on this show, Oklahoma's Tate Sandell. Jim Thorpe Award goes to the best defensive back in college football. That one went to Ohio State's Caleb Downs. And then the name you're going to see on here a ton, as he took home most of the awards, the Dick Butkus Award, which goes to the best linebacker in college or an outstanding linebacker, the Bronco Nagurski and Chuck Bednarik Awards, which are both Defensive Player of the Years, and the Lombardi Award, which goes to the best linebacker. Those all went to Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker from Texas Tech. He won the Heisman fan vote. He was the first guy out. Actually got more first place votes than saying. So Jacob Rodriguez, one of the better players in college football this year. The Remington Award goes to the best center in college football. That is Logan Jones of Iowa. The Outland Award goes to the best interior offensive lineman. That was Spencer Fano of Utah. And the Mackey Award, the best tight end in college football, goes to the tight end Eli Stowers of Vanderbilt. The Fred Biletnikoff Award goes to USC's Mekhi Lemon. And Jeremiah Smith was not very happy about that. I mean, he didn't have much of an argument. If you look at Smith's numbers, we'll go over them real quick. 80 catches, 1,086 yards, and 11 touchdowns. All of those in top 10 in the nation. But you look at Mekhi Lemon, he had one less reception, so 79 receptions, 1,156 yards, and 11 touchdowns. So he had less catches, more yards, and the same amount of touchdowns. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious as to who that was going to go to. And I think it's good that you have a award like this that proves it's not a popularity contest every year. You know, it doesn't just go to the guy that everybody thinks is the best. It goes to the guy with the best stats. Because I think that's what these awards should do, is reward the guys that put up, you know, some gaudy stats during the year. Not just to reward somebody because they're probably going to be one of the better guys in the NFL, you know, when they get there. You know, just reward a guy for going off in college. Now, I don't think you should take some guy out of a... I mean, it can happen every once in a while, but don't take a guy out of the Mountain West that had a really good year and be like, okay, let's compare his numbers, because I don't think that that's necessarily fair to some of the bigger conferences. The Johnny Unitas Award goes to the best senior quarterback in the country, and that went to Diego Pavia of Vanderbilt. The Davey O'Brien goes to the quarterback of the year. That one was Fernando Mendoza of Indiana. The Doak Walker Award goes to the best running back of the year. That one to Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love. Honestly, was kind of surprised to see him win this. I thought that maybe they would go with Ahmad Hardy, who had a lot more yards, or maybe with Quan Lacey, who had more touchdowns. But they rewarded Jeremiah Love. And again, I just said that I don't think they should reward guys for, you know, putting up, or you know, should take away from guys putting up gaudy numbers, because, you know, Ahmad Hardy had a 300-yard rushing game this year. Love was in an interesting position because, one, he had to share the running back room with Jadarian Price, and two, I mean, where was he the first 2 or 3 games of the year? He did what he did in about 8 games. And some of those games, like Syracuse, he got 8 carries in that game. He's not going to sit there and, you know, bulk up 30 carries and get 600 yards in that game, because that's not what Notre Dame football is about and going to do. The Coach of the Year, I think it's pretty easy to see who this is going to be. Curt Cignetti of Indiana. I mean, we kind of thought they were a bit of a fluke last year, and I don't know why we thought that. We had a dude come in to a university who is the losingest university in college football history, and he came in and turned them around. Now, given Indiana had some better years, honestly, leading up to it, they had Michael Penix in 2020. They had a good year. 2019, they had a good year. Made it to I believe it was the Gator Bowl, where they played Tennessee, and so really they've kind of been around, but not necessarily. Man, Sig comes in there, and they go to the playoff, 12-team playoff, first year, lose one regular season game to the national champion. And they lost in the playoff in the first round to the national runner-up. Then this year, they come out and they go undefeated. Curt Cignetti has coached 26 games in college football. He is 24-2, and those 2 teams played in the national championship last year. Will he? My guess is that he'll either be in the national championship game this year or lose to the team that is in it. Lose to a team that's in it. I really do think that. But yeah, Indiana, and again, they've had some injury problems, so maybe they don't make it as far. But I mean, I think Fernando Mendoza is an incredibly hard player to cheer against. If you watched his Heisman speech Saturday night, I mean, he's just a likable dude. It's really easy to see that. The Walter Camp Award, Player of the Year Award, Fernando Mendoza, Indiana. And the Maxwell Award, another Outstanding Player of the Year Award, also to Mendoza. And the Heisman Trophy. 4th place, Julian Sayin. 3rd place, Jeremiah Love. 2nd place, Diego Pavia. And 1st place, Fernando Mendoza of Indiana. There's a pretty good gap between 1 through 4. There was a gap between 1 and 2. There was a gap between 2 and 3. And there was a gap between 3 and 4. And I think they got the order right. I really do. Mendoza was, I think probably was going to win it, just of what he's done, his story getting to where he is. Pavia, I think maybe he's a bit overstayed his welcome when it comes to the media. I mean, I think it's crazy that nowadays it's the year 2025. We're about to be 2026, and the Vanderbilt quarterback is on First Take with Stephen A. Smith talking about how he's the best player in the country. I mean, I think it's crazy that we're even saying that, and it's a true statement. That he went on and said that, not that he is the best quarterback in the country. I think he's the best senior quarterback, but these awards strongly indicate that it was Mendoza. And then obviously Mendoza the winner. He deserved it. I mean, he came into Indiana. Nobody really gave him much of a shot this year. Probably like a 9. I think I said 9-3, 8-4 kind of year, because I saw Mendoza last year at Cal and thought he had a bit of a turnover problem and thought that their running game really helped them. Boy, I mean, he just proved this year he's a baller. He's a winner, and he's a great football player. Excited to see where Indiana goes in the playoffs. Bowl games, we had one over the weekend immediately following the Heisman Trophy ceremony, which took up an hour of TV that took 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I mean, they didn't hand the award out till what? I mean, it was from 6 to 7. The show was. I don't think they handed the award out till 6:55, 6:56, something like that. But we had the LA Bowl immediately following, where Washington absolutely destroyed Boise State 38-10. And this is what Washington is able to do to teams that are at a lower level than them. I don't want to say that they were bad or anything, because BYU was not a bad team this year. They won 9 games. They lost 5, but they won 9. So all around was a fairly good year for them. But man, Washington came out and was ready to go. Obviously, Fish had his guys ready. It's a bit of a turnover fest for the Broncos. Maddox Madsen played for a little bit, 2 picks. Cutforth came in, threw 3 picks. Had some turnover on downs. It was just not really a great game for Boise State. Riley, 1,000-yard rusher, goes 3.5 yards a carry on 10 carries. And the receiving game wasn't great as well. I mean, Marshall had 97 yards. Caples had 70 yards. Louder had a 14-yard touchdown. It's not a good game offensively for the Broncos. It also wasn't a good game defensively, because the Huskies were getting up and down the field. Damon Williams, 15-24, 215 yards, 4 touchdowns. He looked good. Jonah Coleman, he looked really good as well. 12 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Williams got sacked 4 times, so his rushing numbers don't look great. 12 carries for 16 yards. Denzel Boston had a great game out at wide receiver, 6 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. So, for Washington, you had your big players step up. Williams, Coleman, Boston. Those have been the guys all year. If they play good, you win. If they don't, you lose. They played really good, you win. And Washington will finish the 2025 season with a 9-4 record. Middle of the road team, middle of the upper echelon of the Big Ten. I think Jed Fish should stay. I know he's a name that's been thrown around for, that open Michigan job. I think he should stay at Washington. Washington had the same amount of wins as Michigan this year, and unless Michigan somehow wins that bowl game against Texas. Realistically, if Texas beats Michigan, they're going to finish with the same record, and the only thing that Michigan had over Washington was a head-to-head win. But props to Washington. Their big stars showed up in that one. We have a bowl game Tuesday. The Salute to Veterans Bowl. Troy 8-5, Jacksonville State 8-5. This one at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Listen, this is 2 8-5 conference runner-up schools from Alabama playing at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery. I mean, this is Alabama to the max. You got Troy from southern Alabama, Jacksonville State, kind of northeast Alabama. Troy was the runner-up in the Sun Belt, lost to James Madison, who's in the playoff. Jacksonville State fell just short to Kennesaw State, who is one of the more exciting teams this past season with how they came out of nowhere. Should be a fun game. I picked Jacksonville State. We had our bowl prediction show last Friday on Exports Today, so check that one out. But I like Jacksonville State. I think their offense is a good bit better than Troy. I picked Jacksonville State to win that one. And we will continue to preview the bowl games as they come along. We'll have another show Wednesday, which we will talk mostly college basketball on that show. We'll have an AP Top 25. And then Friday, we're going to preview the playoff. That's going to be fun. I might have to preview 2 rounds for the playoff because I'm not exactly sure what our schedule looks like for Christmas and New Year's. Those are falling in the middle of the week this year, so we're got high school and college games all over the place. So, but yeah, I like Jacksonville State in that one. Good win for Washington. We had the awards over the weekend. And some interesting moves. We're going to see Morgan Scaley as the new head coach at Utah next year. We're going to see Jimmy Rogers at Iowa State. We're going to see Kirby Moore at Washington State. Scott Frost trying to get a little extra money from UCF. And Lenore Sellers coming back to South Carolina. DeBoer back at Bama. And then Lagway. Where is he going to go? Only time will tell. When we return, we will go over some of the college basketball games from the weekend, and then some games or maybe a lack thereof early in the week. That will be when we return on the X Sports Network.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
State Line Garage Doors, owned and operated by Justin Gobble, is your trusted local expert in garage door services. Based in Lawrence County, Tennessee, State Line Garage Doors is built on over a decade of hands-on experience, providing reliable repairs, replacements, and installations for all types of garage doors, residential and commercial. They proudly serve our community and the surrounding areas. When you work with State Line Garage Doors, you're not just another job, you're part of our community. Their commitment to quality, transparency, and craftsmanship is at the heart of what they do, and they offer free estimates. State Line Garage Doors. Reach out to discover the difference a company with local roots can make for your home and business.
Pat's Cafe and Catering has been proudly serving customers in Lawrenceburg since 1987. For 4 generations, our family-run cafe has served up delicious breakfast and lunch favorites, with friendly service and a welcoming atmosphere. We also offer full-service catering and can help to make your next party or event a success. For great food and friendly faces, visit us today at Pat's Cafe and Catering.
Working with Gina was great because she really knows this area. I gave her the specifications of what I was looking for, and she took me right to my forever home.
I met Gina when she sold my son's home within 5 days after it hit the market. With my home, from the day the sign hit the yard to the day we signed the papers, Gina was there every step of the way. Her involvement in the sale of my home was the best decision that I made.
We never felt like Gina was pushing us to make a deal with a buyer. She knew what we wanted, and she worked diligently to get us the best offer for our properties.
Working hard for my clients to make their dreams come true. Let me work for you.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.
And welcome back to Mark My Words here on the X Sports Network. It is our college basketball segment now. We just went over all of our college football news, which there was a good bit of. Now on to college basketball, where we will break down our big games from the weekend. We had a fairly good weekend. There wasn't games every night now. We're at that point where you're going to start seeing the games on certain days that, the Big 12 will play their games on Monday and Tuesday. The SEC will play theirs on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Big East will play some Sundays and Thursdays and Fridays. But you're going to start seeing teams kind of starting to play less games or more consistently with the schedule. We will start with our game Friday night in Connecticut, where Texas went up there to face off with the Huskies. Huskies would win that one 71-63. For Texas, I said that they were probably going to want a bigger game from Tremont Mark. He had 15. Jordan Pope gave you 15 points. But other than that, you didn't get much from their starters. The rest of your starting lineup had 18 combined. 48 points from your starters isn't great. Kendall Weaver, Simeon Wilcher had good games off the bench. But, again, not a whole lot from them. For the Huskies, Alex Caravan, 18 points, 8 of 14 from the field. Terrace Reed, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, and he was all over the place. And he's a really interesting player, Reed is. Senior big man, has had a ton of good games this year. Isn't necessarily putting up crazy stats, but he has been good when he has been on the floor for UConn this year. Braylon Mullins, 10 points. Solo ball gives you 9 points, 4 rebounds off. Silas Demery, 2 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Had a bit of a turnover problem. Jalen Stewart gives you 10 points off the bench. A great win at home for UConn. It's a very defensive second half. If Texas maybe could have gotten the offense going a little bit better earlier, or brought the defense on a little more intense in the first half, they could have had a big win right here. But UConn, they continue to win good, big games. And talking about the Huskies' schedule this year, they've played Texas, they've played Florida, they have played Kansas, they have played Illinois, they've played Arizona, they have played BYU. A ton of good quality opponents. Now moving on to Saturday, we had a good one early in the morning on ESPN2. Arkansas at Texas Tech. You had number 17 versus number 16, 2-7-2 teams, and Arkansas continues to prove how good they could be this year. Man, it was a tale of two halves in this one. It was 49-43 in the first half. Texas Tech looked very dominant, and then Arkansas comes out, puts a 50-burger on them in the second half. Defense stepped up much better. For Texas Tech, you had 2 players that had exceptionally good games. Nobody else really, you didn't get much help. JT Toppin, 30 points, 11 rebounds. Christian Anderson, 26 points, 11 assists. Everyone else. Lawan Watts, 8 points. Tyree Bryan, 8 points. Donovan Atwell, 6 points. He's a guy that was a big piece of a Atwell was, has been a big piece before at a couple of his different spots. Last year at UNC Greensboro was one of their bigger shooters. Didn't have a great game. Jalen Petty, 8 points off the bench, is pretty good, but again, you're going to want a little bit more from those starters if you're going to compete in games that are in the high 80s and low 90s. Arkansas, man, did they have a big second half from Trevin Brazile, 24 points, 10 rebounds for the big man. Darius Acuff, 20 points, 8 assists. It's Carter Knox, 20 points. Where did his game come from? He's a guy that's averaging 8 points a game, and he's really spotty with his games. Had a 19-point game versus Central Arkansas, 17 versus Jacksonville State, 11 versus Fresno. Good to see him have a good game against a good opponent, because really in these ranked matchups, he's kind of hidden, so to speak. Didn't score against Michigan State, 2 points against Duke, 5 points against Louisville. Even in a win, you'd like to see the sophomore produce a little bit more against better competition, and he did just that. Wagner had a little bit of a slow game at 4 points. Billy Richmond, 6 point. Malik Thomas, another freshman, 8 points off the bench. If he finds his shooting stroke, Arkansas is going to be really dangerous, and I think they are continuing to be really, really dangerous. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma faced off in Bedlam. And listen, anytime these two teams play, you're getting a good one. Maybe isn't the best basketball matchup as of late. Both teams have kind of taken a step back. But Oklahoma serves up the Cowboys with their first loss of the year. Sooners get a big win, 85-76. And it was a little bit of everything. Xavier Brown, he was really good, 21 points, 5 assists, 18 points from Nigel Pack, 6 boards. Tay Davis, 9 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 10 points from Darion Reed. It was really just a team effort. You played 10 guys. You got 9 points from Jaden Jones, 16 from Forsyth, 2 from Rogers off the bench. For Oklahoma State, they really had 4 guys do all their work. Victorious Miller had 13, Clary had 18, Anthony Roy had 16, and then Christian Coleman had 17. The rest of the team had 12. And that was why the Cowboys struggled. Their defense did not show up, and Oklahoma just continues to get better and better each half they play. Very consistent, 41 points in the first half, 44 in the second half, and a really good win right there for the Sooners. We'll look at another SEC team, and man, Georgia just continues to outscore everybody. It's funny when you look at Georgia basketball that it's all offense, and Georgia football is defense. But man, an 84-65 win over Cincinnati for the Bulldogs there at the Holiday Hoops Giving. And, man, I'll tell you, a couple of guys giving in this one. Blue Kane, 22 points, 5 assists, 13 points from Cyril, 17 from Jeremiah Wilkinson, 10 points off the bench, Marcus Millender for Georgia. And, man, just great defense by Georgia in this one, actually. Baba Miller, 11. Mustafa Taim with 11 and points, 9 rebounds, 13 points from Jalen Celestine off the bench. All-around good defense. You hold the team to 65. That says a lot about your team's defense. But the Beaver outscore them 2 at 84. Looked really, really impressive. Louisville and Memphis did battle this weekend, and I actually saw a clip from I can't remember what year. I think it's 2005. They were playing in a conference tournament, maybe a championship game. And it was Rick Pitino versus John Calipari. And I'm pretty sure there was a Memphis player that had gotten fouled as time expired and had 3 free throws, a chance to send it to overtime. It made the first 2, missed the last. Some crazy memories that come up in college basketball. But Louisville didn't need any late heroics in this one as they took this one 99-73. They were up 20 at halftime and continued the domination into the second half. I mean, you look at everybody. I mean, this is a team that had 6 guys scoring double figures, and Javon Hadley was a free throw away. Sanaja Frew, 11.6 rebounds. Ryan Conwell, 17 points. Michael Brown looked a lot better, 16 points. Most of that coming from the line. McNeely didn't score. Hit 2 free throws, but didn't hit any threes. Javon Hadley, 9 points. 10 points from Roots off the bench. 11 points for Pryor off the bench, and 15 points from Woolley off the bench. Starters, no starter played more than 25 minutes. And when you win a game by that much and you get up that early, that's what's going to happen to you. We'll talk about the Cardinals a little more in a minute because they got a big game coming up this week. Another one of the ranked, unranked matchups: Nebraska and Illinois. Still don't understand how this game wasn't televised, and the ending. I think the ending probably agrees with that. Huge buzzer beater 3 at the end by Jamarcus Lawrence. 3 of his 14 points in that one. An 83-80 win for the Cornhuskers. They stay unbeaten at 11-0. Illinois takes their 3rd loss, their first in Big Ten play. And, man, it was a rough game for mainly David Merkovich for Illinois. He didn't play good. Keaton Wagler, 19 points, 10 assists. He was awesome. Stojakovic, 19 points, 10 rebounds. Kylan Boswell had 20 points. But other than that, you got 4 from Merkovich, 3 from Ivasic, 7 from Zvonimir Ivasic, 3 from Tomislav, 5 from Jake Davis, 3 from Ben Hummerkaus. You want guys that can come in and give you more than just 1 3 in a game. You want a big game like Price Sanford. He had 32 points in this one for Nebraska, 17 from Rink Most, 14 points and 6 assists from Jamarcus Lawrence, who hit the big 3 at the end. Jared Garcia, 10 points off the bench, a huge win for the Cornhuskers. And I'll tell you, Price Sanford, gotta watch, 17 points a game. The 6'7" junior out of Iowa. But man, I'll tell you, just even Most from the Netherlands, he's giving you 18 points a game. This is a really interesting Nebraska team, and man, they just play so good together. Props to the Cornhuskers, who took a bit of a jump in the AP poll. We'll look at that on Wednesday. Number 19, Kansas gets a big overtime win at NC State, 77-76. Again, you got Darren Peterson back. You look a lot better. But, man, NC State had something to prove in that one and just came up a bit short in overtime. And listen, the final score, there was still 51, 52 seconds left in this game. It was under a minute, I know, but there was a whole lot of time left, and nobody scored there at the end. 36 points from Melvin Council. He was awesome. Darren Peterson had 17 points, 12 from Trey White. Padunga had 8 points, 11 rebounds. You got 2 total bench points off 6 shots. You want a little bit more from your bench if you're Kansas. NC State, it was a team effort. 17 points from Darian Williams, 16 from Van Allen Lubin. Williams had 10 rebounds. Lubin had 11. 11 points for Trey Holloman. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists for Kadir Copeland. Only 9 points off the bench. NC State had a chance there at the Lenovo Center, but came up just a bit short. Darion Williams had a chance to win it in overtime, but just couldn't secure that one. Really great win there for Kansas. Indiana and Kentucky. Great game to listen to. You had Charles Barkley, you had Dick Vitale, you had two of the best brands in college basketball in Indiana and Kentucky, teams that haven't played in a while. So you had everything you could want. Kentucky ends up taking that one at 72-60, which is so funny because Indiana 4 or 5 days earlier in the week had a game where they scored 113 points and had a dude score 44. And they followed that up and scored 60 as a team. I think that shows a lot about how Kentucky has grown. I said that they looked like they were in a pretty bad spot. Well, they were lucky that Indiana came in, shot 34% from the field, 17% from three. Kentucky was only 4% better at each spot, but it was enough made shots that it was a difference. And the big, Indiana won the rebounding battle. They had 18 turnovers, though, to Kentucky's 4. That's where it's coming. Great defense by Kentucky. DeVries had 15. Connerway had 11. Lamar Wilkinson had 15. The rest of the team hardly scored. I mean, that's 41 points right there. You had 19 from the rest of the team. You had some big performances off the bench for Kentucky. Otega Owe looked all right, but nobody in the starting lineup shot well. Aberdeen, Chandler, Moreno, none of them shot well. But who did shoot well? Diabate had 14 points off the bench. Cam Williams had 9. Jalon Lowe had 13. Jasper Johnson still trying to work his way into a role in this offense. It's not the same Kentucky. This isn't going to be 4 freshmen and a sophomore that just wasn't going to be a first-round pick. It's going to be some older guys. SMU and LSU, Tigers get a big win in this one, 89-77, in a game that I really thought was SMU's to do what they wished with. And man, it was LSU's 9-1, and they look really good while doing it. 23 points, 12 rebounds from Markel Sutton. Pablo Tamba, 14 and 10, 22 points from Max McKinnon. And Woko, it was typically your leading guy. He was in foul trouble in this one, so didn't have a great game. 16 points, 12 assists, only 2 turnovers from Dedon Thomas. Robert Miller, 4 points, 2 from Rashad King, but a great start by the LSU offense. SMU got some good performances. Miller had 16. Pierre Jr. had 16. Toombs also had 16. You had a lot of middle-of-the-road performances, but in a game where it takes 89 or 90 to win it, you're going to have a guy have a 25-point game or a 30-point game. That's something that they'll continue to figure out as the year goes on. And, folks, I think we're going to start to see a trend in college basketball. I think our national championship is already decided. Well, not decided, but I think we know who the teams are. If it's not Arizona and Michigan, Arizona's last 2 games, they played the 2 teams in Alabama, Auburn and Alabama. Well, they beat Auburn by 29, and then they went to Birmingham to play Alabama and beat them by 21. 2 weeks in a row. 96-75 this one. It's crazy because Alabama had a bunch of turnovers in this game, 15 to be exact, and it allowed Arizona to almost get 30 more shots. They also out-rebounded Alabama by 20. It was just a big-on-big game. Kucherov had 10, 14 points, 14 rebounds from Krivas. Burries had 28 points, 13.7 assists from Jaden Bradley. Off the bench, Toby Awaka gives you 15 boards on 7 points. Anthony Del Orso, 13 points. Just all-around great game for Arizona. Alabama, you got a good game from LeBaron Philon. You got a good game from Latrell Reitzel. You didn't get a good game from anybody else. Cheryl had 8 blocks, which is incredible. I mean, that kid is if he gets 10 points and 10 rebounds in a game, watch out, because he could have a triple-double coming. 7 points, 5 rebounds, 8 blocks for him. Tyler Bowen, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 blocks. But, Alabama, they got killed on the boards, and they turned the ball over a ton. That's exactly how you lose games by 20-plus points. But, man, it just feels like Arizona, and you could maybe throw Duke in there, maybe Iowa State, but Arizona and Michigan are just beating the crap out of everybody. I mean, it's just crazy how that's worked its way out. Mississippi State gets a big come-from-behind win at Utah and wins 82-74. There was a pretty crazy lead blown in this one by Utah. I think it got up to 20. I'm not exactly sure. It was somewhere around the 15 to 20 range. And, man, just a great come-from-behind win by Mississippi State, a win that they needed bad. Mississippi State back to 500 at 5-5. 20 points and 4 rebounds from Jaden Epps, 13 points from Josh Hubbard, 29 points from Jabari McGee off the bench. That's what you need from Mississippi State. Just a big performance from somebody off the bench. 29 points for Don McHenry, 22 for Terrence Brown, and nobody over 7 points the rest of the way for Utah. Great game defensively for Mississippi State. Yeah, Brown and McHenry went off. You didn't let anybody else really hurt you. Nobody else hit more than, 2 shots? That's how you do it. Now, funny enough for Mississippi State, they didn't have anybody else hit more than 2 shots other than Epps, Hubbard, and McGee, but they had 3 guys that did that. Utah only had 2. But great win for Mississippi State. Maybe building a little confidence as we near closer to the start of conference play in the SEC. And our last game on Saturday. Number 25 UCLA, number 8 Gonzaga. Really anticipated this one in Seattle to be more of a defensive battle, but there were a good bit of points in this one. Gonzaga getting the win, 82-72 in this one at the Seattle Hoops Showdown. And, man, Tyler Bilodeau having a great start to the year for UCLA. He had 24 in this one. 12 points, 5 boards for Xavier Booker. Donovan Dent, 12 points, 10 assists. Not a good game from Sky Clark or Eric Daly. And then you didn't get much off the bench either for UCLA. Looking at Gonzaga, 21 points, 4 boards from Braden Huff. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists from Graham Ike. And then Mario Sansupri had 12, but no one else really did much. I mean, Tyron Grant Foster had 7, Adam Miller had 9, but those two get big guys, Huff and Ike. And they make Gonzaga one of the toughest teams to stop in the country. So, yeah, that will do it for our games for the weekend. Man, tonight, there's not much college basketball going on, folks. I think it was maybe Jeff Goodman that said it, but this is a good night to enjoy some time with your family. Just watch a movie, something along those lines. I'll see if there's if there's even a top 25 team playing tonight. There is not. Tomorrow we do have some pretty good games, though. A couple. Number 11 Louisville at number 20 Tennessee. That one is the big one tomorrow night. That one at 6 p.m. on ESPN before the Salute to Veterans Bowl. That should be a good one. Tennessee has kind of looked a little down recently. So it's going to be a big one for Tennessee. They need to win bad. They're in a point where they've lost their last 4 games. That's not a Rick Mars Tennessee basketball team. They're still in the top 25 at 20. But for how much longer? If they, I'm pretty convinced if they lose this game to Louisville that they've lost 3 in a row, not 4. Need to prevent it from being 4. Louisville favored by 1.5 right now. It's in Knoxville, so the Food City Center is going to be loud. It's going to be a start for Dwayne Brown, the second for Tennessee, getting the start in place of the injured Cade Phillips. Should be an interesting one there. South Carolina at Clemson at 6 p.m. on ESPN2. Love the Palmetto Showdown in every sport. Football, it's fun. Baseball, I think, might be the most fun, especially if South Carolina gets back up and running this year. But it's also been pretty good in basketball. Brad Brownell, Lamont Paris have put together some pretty good teams. And then at 7:30 on Peacock, Butler at number 5 UConn. Butler's had a good start to the year. UConn looks like one of the more unstoppable teams. Picks, I'm going to take Tennessee. I think they're going to get things fixed. I think they're going to get things on track. I think they'll get a big win against Louisville. I'm going to go with Clemson to defend home court against South Carolina. And then I'm going to go with UConn to get a big win over Butler. So that will do it for this Monday edition of the Mark My Words College Sports Show here on the X Sports Network. I'll be back on a Wednesday. We're going to break down some more college basketball, look at the AP poll. We'll break down some more bowl games. Ton of fun coming up. So that will be when we see you next here on the X Sports Network.
Going the distance with local sports. This is the X Sports Network.